Hello, thank you for tuning in. You are tuned in to The Encourager, and we are on to another journal sharing. And so we are picking up on 10-9. Thank you so much, subscribers. 10-9 or 10-8-15, excuse me. Thank you so much, subscribers. Those of you who tune in on a regular basis, I certainly do appreciate your being a part of whatever it is that I'm sharing at any given point in time. Again, as always, I always give invite to share, comment. I do put my email address in the information section of each video. And that email address is theencourager333@gmail. And so yes, so if you could please feel free to reach out to me with questions or information that you find on anything that I speak about. Again, I like to keep myself in check, so I'm not... I don't get it all right, and if I do, that's only from my vantage point, right? So I am certainly one that's open to considering a number of things, and only religious people will tell you this is the only way to do it. Only religious people will tell you that, because that's what religion is. Religion tells you, nope, the only way you can do this is if you go to this kind of church, and if you're a part of this religion, and that's the only way you can be saved and go to heaven. That's what religion does. But that's a lie, okay? That's a straight out lie. You don't need to do anything like any church program, church setup. In fact, you would do better to walk away from those denominations. You would feel a whole lot better instantly when you remove your energy and cut that umbilical cord. You will feel a lot better, trust me, because your nourishment does not come from a church. No, it does not. No. You might have good relationships with those people, but I tell you, your nourishment through your spiritual umbilical cord, it does not come through a church. 100% guaranteed. In fact, the church has held you back from maturing. Yes, the church has held you back from maturing. They may have helped you take the training wheels off your bike, but they can't give you your driver's license to drive the supercar. Religion will not do that. Spirituality will do that. Okay? So again, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm here to help us all become our highest, truest, best selves possible. And do that through a number of ways, however Most High guides me these days. Okay? And in fact, I'm saying this now because if you have tax questions, I've been a tax accountant for the last 13 years. If you have tax questions, specifically business-related, employees don't have any tax benefits, really. The government just takes your money. Yeah, you don't have any tax benefits, employees. That's why I'm such a strong believer in building it yourself. I haven't been a W employee for several years, W-2 employee for several years, and yeah, because they control your time, they control your mind, then they get in your emotions, then they take your energy, time away from your family. They do all kinds of things long term. They rob you of your value. No company in the world will pay you as an employee your true value. No company. None. None. Okay? And so, again, just a couple little nuggets to get things going. Again, I hope you're doing well wherever you are today and whenever you find yourself listening to this. All right, so on 10/8 of 2015, so I had just gotten engaged to Katina, and yeah, that was my second marriage, and it lasted all of 2.5 years before I left, because again, as I've mentioned, she was non-supportive. And really only just wanted my sperm so she could have a daughter. That's really all she wanted. And in fact, that was a serious conversation for us. Like, she was not even open to having a son. She only wanted a daughter. Like, she was that that, I don't know what you call that, that shallow-minded, that simple-minded, like she, and never had kids, did not have kids. She was in her mid-40s when we got married. She's a couple years older than I am. She was so stuck on exactly what there was no leeway in her whatsoever. None. Not even for a boy instead of a girl, having never had kids. None. Thankfully, Most High protected me. And there were no kids between her and I. Okay. And we did try. We went through intravenous. We tried all sorts of things, injections, and also we tried all sorts of things with her. Come to find out, it was something with, I don't know, her uterus being turned or something was strange with her physically as to why she could not give birth. And so, yeah, right. So anyway, but we were engaged and we got married in November of this same year. So the following month, about a month and a half later, we got married. Again, me being led that's what I really, truly, wholeheartedly, unconditionally loved her and really, truly thought that she was it. We had met back in 2002, like on a chat or something like that. When I was getting out of the military, she was living in Daytona. It's Daytona Beach, Florida. I don't know if there's another Daytona. I'm so used to just saying Daytona. In Daytona Beach, Florida. And so, yeah. And then she moved away. She dated a gentleman who was in the Navy. I think she was with him for 10 years. And, yeah. So, yeah. So anyway, here's where we are. And so I've asked myself a question. What was I birthed to be? Right? I was always checking myself and checking in, looking for answers, more, give me more, right? Confirmation dog bark. It was silent just before that. Alexis, so my daughter, my eldest daughter, she has a habit, both of them do actually, of dismissing me. Okay. And again, I understand that I don't know what it's like for them on the outside to have a father who's an earth angel and who's prophetic and psychic and empathic, and I don't know what it's like for on the other side. Okay? I generally think I'm a very easy guy to get along with, especially when it comes to kids, especially when it comes to my own, right? Extremely, I'm the soft-hearted one, right? I'm that guy, right, when it comes to my girls, okay? But I'm not going to go against my own principles in order to appease someone, and that's what she was wanting, and that's what she's always wanted. She wanted me to back her up even when she was lying. I'm not going to do that. Sorry, Alexis. I'm not going to do that, okay? And so I gave her an opportunity to meet Katina, but she didn't want to, because even though she's told me years prior, she said, Daddy, I don't want you to be, at that time, she said, Daddy, I don't want you to be 40 with just you and your dog. You know, you'll be sad. You know, you should find someone. And then I got someone and wanted her to meet her, but she didn't want to because she was mad because she felt like Katina was taking me away from her. Right? So, and yes, this is a teenager. She was a teenager in 2015. So, yeah, I have to give some leeway for that, especially being a female. Yes, females, especially being a female. And I do mean that in a male chauvinist kind of way, because female teenagers, generally speaking, are kind of walking demons. And I do mean that genuinely and sarcastically. I do mean that, right? You can't disappear for 5 minutes, come back, and you are literally a completely different person. Literally, you were just laughing and talking, and how is it that you come back in and now your world is flipped upside down? How is that possible? That was our experience with Alexis as a teenager. So, when female teenagers, again, not all, my experience, a bit of a hellion, okay? Or not a hellion, a roller coaster. She's a sweet, wonderful person, and has a great heart. But and again, she has part of me, so I have some mercy. She has some fire in her. She's a fighter. She really, literally is a fighter. She will knock you out. So she has that. I have to give some grace there, right? And so, because I remember how I was as a kid, growing up in the projects, I was swing first, ask questions later. I was that way. And I felt like I had to be, because in the projects, they would definitely stomp you into the ground if you weren't on your game. That's for sure. All right, so this is what this says. Alexis has dismissed me yet again, this time because she did not meet Katina, although I gave her opportunity to. What can you do? What are you going to do? And at this time, she was like 18. Yes, almost 8. Just turned 18. Her birthday is 10/6. She had just turned 18. So I'm like, all right, if that's the way you're going to be, you're going into adulthood. I offered, I tried, right? And during the 2.5 years, I still reached out to her and asked her if she never did. She never wanted to meet her. Again, she holds grudges, and she holds them for eons. That is one of her faults. Okay, she's not a very easily forgiving person. Okay, so that part she did not get for me. I forgive very easily, but I won't let people back in. Okay, so I put up boundaries after I forgive. She has a hard time forgiving. Okay, so Steve announced me and Katina's engagement at the Rock of Central Florida in Sanford, Florida. Gaston was positioned. He's a team minister at the Rock now. Back then, again, I called Steve Apostle. I call him Steve today, and I did before I left. And in fact, he prefers to be called Steve and not Apostle. And so on 10/17 of 15, he mentioned something. I write down some of everything. He mentioned a wedding. There was a couple that was visiting that day, from Rutland, Vermont, which is where Beth Tome, that church is, that congregation, I guess. I really don't like using the word church. That's where that place is. Those people are from. So I feel like I'm moving too much. On 10/19/15, the need is great. What am I going to do? So I was asking myself a question. The need for healing, the need for truth, the need for something, right? And then a couple of days later, Yahweh is doing something great in us. Okay. Holy Spirit told me on 10/25/15, my hum stills the waters. And today, part of my meditation, I do that. I hum. And sometimes I don't do the om. Sometimes, and it turns on my crown chakra and my third eye, and it gets things going, right? So I hum during my meditations often, okay? So next page. Focus. Okay. So next page here. AJ, who, again, today when I left 2 years ago, he was the youth minister at the Rock of Central Florida. I'm not sure, he might still be the youth minister or youth, whatever their titles are. I don't know. I'm not sure. But he was speaking, right? And he said on this particular day, our footprints are his, although he's never walked here, right? So Most High has never physically, or even Yeshua, never physically went to Florida, right? But I was there for 30 years, including military time. I was 30 years, right? Outside of that, it was 22, which I'm just now realizing it was 22 physically. So on 10/26/15, it is as if my ears are plugged with water, but they are not. Okay, so something was going on there where I was I don't know, maybe that was an ascension of some sort. Again, I was on dialysis. I was a year and a half into my dialysis treatments at this time. Okay? With one sound. Okay? And again, HS, I would write HS for Holy Spirit. Right? Obtain a photo. I'm not sure what that was. Maybe that was just about the time. So, Jim Schneider, I've mentioned his name a couple of times. He was one of the first ministers, if not the first visiting minister, to the Rock of Central Florida in 2003. And he told me that Most High searched the earth to join me to Steve Parker. I think Steve forfeited the opportunity for what we were supposed to do collectively. I really do. Right? Like he did with Linda by not having her on staff. That's his mother-in-law. Because he was religious and thought women shouldn't be on staff. So she ended up passing in 2009, having never been given the authority to be on staff in that place because Steve was religious in his mindset. He's since changed his ways. But, yeah. Okay. And today I still don't know if there's a female on staff there. I really don't, other than the one who religious people call the first lady. They don't use that term, but that's his wife, Kim. Other than her, I don't know if a woman is on staff like that. I don't know, right? But Jim Schneider, in October of 2015, he came back to the Rock again. He was fairly frequent, probably the most frequent guest speaker during the time that I was there. I was there for 20 years. He once stood up and he asked, who are the scribes in there, right? I knew I was a scribe, a writer. I'm also a painter. And so he called us all up. He called other people up as well, business owners, financiers. He called several other people up, okay? And so the scribes at that time that stood up were me, a lady named Genevieve, a lady named Stephanie, I'm not going to use their last names, a lady named Rebecca, a lady named Shaviv, okay, AJ, who's up there, Chino, right, and Chris, okay, so we were the scribes that stood up. And then there's an arrow pointing over here, and Jim said something and I wrote it down. He said to the scribes, nothing happens until the pen is poised above the paper. Okay? And so what that means is you have to be in position. Let me put this down. You have to be in position to receive in order to receive. You have to be properly positioned. Okay? Because if you don't have the pen in your hand and you only have the paper, that doesn't work. If you only have the paper and you don't have the pen, that's not going to work. The pen, you have to put pen to paper, as man says, right? Because otherwise, it's just a thought. Okay? So that is true even from a spiritual standpoint. You have to be in proper position in order to get the downloads, in order to receive from Most High. You have to be in proper position. We get in and out of position with our choices, with our mindsets. Okay? People we hang around, the places we go in and out, right? So that's what that means when it says the pen, nothing happens until the pen is poised above the paper. Because then Most High can release. Because then you start to write, or in this case, meditating. Put yourself in proper position for meditating. If you are the pen and your crown, you are the paper. Your crown and third eye are the pens, right? And Most High is giving you this information, right? And you're writing it down on your spiritual chart, or you get to access your Akashic records. That's a beautiful thing. If you don't know how to access your Akashic records, I encourage you to look into accessing your Akashic records, right? You are the only one who can access your Akashic records, right? I had someone doing spell work against me trying to access my Akashic records because they were trying to be me, a doppelganger, literally a spiritual doppelganger. out there trying to be like me, look like me, hair like me, dress like me, try to talk like me. They were trying to be me without the anointings, without the Egyptian shamanic ancestry. Okay? They were trying to be like me, but that didn't work. They tried to access my Akashic records. My ancestors in Most High said, what the fuck you think you doing? Get the fuck away from this door. This is none of your business. Get out. Get out. What do you think you're doing? You can't touch him. That's what Most High said. Okay? So, on 11/2, so Steve at one point, and he's spoken this several times, about the Rock of Central Florida owning a bank at some point in time. He took a job, in addition to being the senior minister at the Rock of Central Florida. He took a temporary job, I think for about a year, at a bank. Okay? And so, I wrote that down because I was all in, and I'm a scribe, so I'm going to write. I carried my journal to service with me every week. Okay? Thankfully, we really only had one service a week, thankfully. Because, again, that was the least religious place I've been in that's called a church. And so they didn't have multiple 5 and 6 services a week. Thankfully, he believed that the church tears up families, which they do, because they keep you separated. Go to Sunday school. Go to Bible study. Go to prayer meeting. Go to shut-in. Whatever. Where's my time with my family? You keep talking about family, but I can't even spend time with them because I feel obligated to keep showing up here at the church because you keep having 12 services a week. Thankfully, he didn't believe in that. 11/3 is my grandfather Berlin's birthday. And also my cousin Daryl's. My grandfather Berlin passed in 1996, a couple of weeks after. He actually literally passed in between my daughters being birthed. Okay? In between both of their birthdays. My cousin Daryl passed just in 2021. And that was the last time I had been to Illinois. His mother has since passed. She passed on 10/22 of last year. Okay? So unfortunate, or I don't know, as it is, I can't even say unfortunately. As it is, they were a family of 6 at one point. There was Carol, Troy, Daryl, Brian, whose first name is actually David, and Christy, and then they had a brother, Christopher. So it was 6 of them. Today there's only 2. Okay? And in fact, her son is 3 days older than I am. So the woman who birthed me and his mother were pregnant at the same time, almost at identical times. Okay? He's just 4 days older than I am. 4, maybe 5. I think he was born on the 24th. Excuse me. Whoa. Yeah, he was born on the 24th. Jeez. So, you don't want me talking about you, Brian? Why? Are you one of those people that were doing spell work against me because you're jealous? He was always jealous of me. Even when we were kids, we got in fights all the time. Okay? I do not need dialysis anymore because he was a punk. Thank you, dog. He was a punk. That's why. Okay? And I don't do well with soft, wimpy ass people. I don't do well with people like that. People who are let's say this, people who respond to, let's just say, constructive criticism, and they get down and it gets them depressed. I don't do well with people like that. I don't do well with people like that. I do much better when I'm around people who are self-motivated and they are willing to lace up their own boots and they just need a nudge or two. If you need me to carry you, nah, I can't do that. I can't do that. Nah. Right? But he was, that's what his mother did. Unfortunately, she spoiled him. Okay? So, let's see. I'll share this one last page and then I'll go. It's approaching 25 minutes. I think that's good. I'm trying to cut down on the hour-long videos, okay? So, on 10/27, all right, I wrote, I can do it all with the strength of Christ. On 11/3. 11/3 must have been a Sunday. Excuse me. Steve, what am I needed most? Oh. This says, Steve, what I needed most, another fearless warrior to walk the journey with me. Huh. That's interesting. It says, Steve, what I needed most was another fearless warrior to walk with me. Thank you. Maybe that's how I was feeling about him, right? He was definitely bolder than most. Not all, because he still had religious shit that he's dealing with, even till this day. That's why he never reached out to this ex-spiritual son of his and corrected shit that he didn't believe. That's why he hasn't done it, because he's still dealing with spiritual, religious ass shit in his own self. You know? The life existence is the pen. See, look, I wrote this. I didn't even know I wrote this down. I did not even wrote this. Kingdom purpose is the paper. Blinders on. Eyes set forward, meaning you are focused. So when you have blinders on, it doesn't matter. You know, it's like a horse. It doesn't matter what's happening to the left or the right. You are dead focused on what's ahead. You know, you're a sniper. It doesn't matter the sounds. The fly can land on your ear when you're getting ready to pull it. None of that matters. None of that matters. None of that matters. The horns, the whatever, none of that matters. It doesn't get you off your target. You are dead locked on that boy. Okay? That's my mentality. And that's a strong personality. I understand that. Not everybody can walk with that. I understand that. In fact, women have a very difficult time walking with a man who's so independent, because most people are used, men and women. You could be a woman and you could be strong as I am. Men are going to have a hard time, and more so, men are going to have to, because they deal with pride and ego. They're going to have a hard time dealing with that. I'm not talking about a woman who's walking around talking about men are dogs and blah, blah, blah. No. Right? I'm not saying that. You will never, ever hear me say all women are anything. What you will hear me say is the women that I've dealt with in my own personal intimate life, they have been some dumbasses. And perhaps I was dumbass for picking them at the time. Goes both ways, buddy. Right? So don't feel bad and don't lessen yourself, your strength, your solar plexus, courage, and independence because someone is uncomfortable with the strength that you are. Don't lower yourself to them. Okay? Don't do that. If they can't handle this heat, yeah, get out the kitchen because there's a whole lot of fire. Right? Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. Okay? All right. So lastly, an arrow sharpened with the wrong stone looks sharp, but it isn't sharp enough to do its job and fulfill its purpose. Thanks, Steve. All right. So there are a whole lot of ways that we can look the part. There are a whole lot of ways that we can look the part of whatever. We can look the part of a prophet or a prophetess or an anointed minister or what have you. We can look the part. Okay? We can look the part. But eventually cracks are going to start to show. Because eventually you're going to run across someone who's a true one, and they're going to call you out. Okay? So pay attention to those things, those people that you allow to sharpen you. Are they sharpening you for good, or are they sharpening you for evil? Are they sharpening you for ascension, or are they sharpening you for descension? Are they sharpening you for work, for mission, or are they sharpening you for complacency, stagnation, laziness, religiousness? What are the stones around you sharpening you for? It's a good question to ask ourselves today. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Nehru. You've been tuned into The Encourager. As always, I hope you're doing well. Continue to be enlightened. Continue to ensure that your chakras are aligned. I'm probably going to go outside for a minute today. Yesterday it was 40 something. Today the high might hit 60. There was a interesting weather change recently that's called a polar vortex, right? Which is an unusual occurrence in the atmosphere, right? For weather conditions. So normally where I reside, it would not be that cold at this time. Normally it would be warming up, or starting to. But yeah, so that's an interesting occurrence. Nothing's a coincidence. Nothing's just because or happenstance. Okay? Again, thank you so much. I hope you're doing well. As always, be encouraged. You've been tuned into The Encourager, and talk to you soon.